All right, happy Wednesday, everyone, and welcome Health Science and Medical Technology students. My name is Sarai Franco, and I'm here with my colleagues, Ripsame and Richard. We are your work-based learning coordinator support team. We welcome you to our work-based learning event that is brought to you today by Oak Crest Institute of Science. So a quick description of Oak Crest Institute of Science. They are a nonprofit organization located in Monrovia, California. Oak Crest was established in 1998, and they focus on innovative chemistry and biology research. So I now introduce to you Dr. Paul Webster and his colleagues.
Good afternoon. My name is Paul Webster, and as you can probably tell already, I am not a local person. And I came here from, actually I came from Kenya. I'm British, but I flew, I was working in Kenya and I came to the East Coast and now to the West Coast. And I'd like to introduce you to our institute, which is a very, very unique institute dedicated to basic chemistry and biology, biotech, biomedical research. And as a big part of our program, we take students on for internships. So one of our big missions is to try and encourage students to enjoy science in the way we all enjoy science. And we're an interesting group, a mixed group from different backgrounds. And I think the best way to introduce this is to start by passing this on to Mark Baum, who is our CEO and president. He is the person that set up Oakcrest 22 years ago. If you're there, Mark, can you switch on your microphone and give a little introduction of maybe how you set up Oakcrest, why you set it up? Maybe would you do it again?
Thanks, Paul. Well, welcome everybody. I'm excited to be part of this wonderful session today. Unfortunately, the fish just disappeared. They were quite entertaining to watch. And I'm delighted to be part of this session, as I said. Oakcrest is a unique place, and there's a long story as to how it got started, and I'm not going to bore you with the details, but basically I'm also not from the United States originally, and I came over here to start something in science, although I wasn't quite sure at the time what that was going to be. And after trying a few things that I didn't particularly enjoy, I really missed the creative freedom that science offers. And maybe you guys haven't quite got there yet. I think maybe some of what you do in school is a little bit protocol driven and sort of formulaic. However, there is a light at the end of the rainbow, which is that at the end of the day, you do apply all these learning to do some really cool stuff that is basic science, where you ask questions that nobody really knows the answer to. And that was really the fundamental drive that led me to start Oakcrest, as Paul said, 22 years ago, long before you guys were even born. And the reason was we wanted to do something different. We wanted to have a small, intimate institute that could do cutting level science research. It's all based around science research, and using that research as an opportunity to bring people in, the younger folks and some of the older folks, into this wonderful sort of learning process of seeing what research is really like and how you get to ask these questions and get answers, and you're the only one who has the answers until you share them with others. And that's a real thrill, aside from the detective work and all the other cool stuff that goes with it. And the toys, let's not forget the toys. So basically, that is really why we started. And Oakcrest was designed to do that cutting edge research and bring young future scientists in and get them excited about doing research. And you'll hear from some of them today. So that was why we started Oakcrest. 22 years later, we have accomplished a lot of things that we set out to do. We now have a beautiful scientific infrastructure. We've got a phenomenal team that works here at Oakcrest, some of whom are on this call today. And we've made a big difference in a lot of people's lives. So all these things are wonderful. And I love coming to work every single day, even after 22 years. So the question, would I do it again? Absolutely. Did I know back then how hard it was going to be? Absolutely not. So it may be a little deterrent at this point in my life to start from scratch, but even if I had to, I probably would still do it at this point, just because of what we've done, what we've accomplished, and the difference we've made in people's lives. So that's basically my story in terms of how it all began and where we are today.
I know Irina is sitting on one side of the table. Maybe she can give a little introduction to how she came to Oakcrest.
Yeah, hi, my name is Irina Wood. I have been working at Oak Crest for 10 years. I received my chemistry degree in Omsk University in Russia. I enjoy so much research for many challenges I face every day in a lab. And believe me, it's not a boring job. Every day I'm learning something new.
And now we can go to one of the youngest people in our group. This is Sarai. Aha, got you.
I'm not the youngest, Paul.
You're the newest, let's say that, the newest one in the group.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sarah. I'm currently still in college, majoring in biotechnology. My academic journey has been with ups and downs. My first 2 years of high school, I actually stayed in Mexico. I came over here and I had to go to 2 different schools to complete just a year of high school. I stopped going to high school due to some unfortunate circumstances, but I went back to school to get my GED. And after I got my GED, I thought that I wanted to go into nursing. That's when I had to take a biology course. They had a lab portion that went along with the class. And that's when I realized that nursing was definitely not something that I wanted to do. And science and the lab work was actually what I was really interested in. I came into Oak Crest in the summer. I participated in a summer research experience. It was about 2 months. I had a lot of exposure to like different departments, which was microbiology, chemistry, biomedical. And I was fortunate enough to have been picked up, and now I'm here as a part-time researcher. What I really like about Oak Crest is the fact that they are really hands-on, and they also like allow you to do your own research. It's not like a textbook where you just, you get the material and then you would realize that the answer to any question would follow from like the textbook. Like you have to put all the pieces together, and that's like completely different, but that's ultimately what research is or has been for me. That's my experience on that.
Thank you, Sarah. Who shall we choose next? Destiny, how about that?
Hi everyone, I'm Destiny. When I was in high school, I just want to say I had no idea what I was doing. I was a first-gen student, so I never knew about the sciences. It was always just, you're not doing anything unless you have a full-time job, or you're a doctor, or you're a lawyer. So I remember when I was in high school, all I did was try to get good grades, get the GPA, and I thought that was it. I just have to apply and I'll get accepted anywhere. And so when I was in high school and I applied, I waited for those letters, and rejection letter after rejection letter, I realized I did something wrong. And so after getting rejected to every single school I applied to, I saw that they were offering a kind of like a tour of a community college and a citrus college. And so I signed up and I took my chance and I went. And I felt like I hit rock bottom. I felt like community college was, where students who didn't really want a future, didn't really care about academics went. And so for a while, I just thought, I'm not good enough. I felt that imposter syndrome, and I just wanted to go to nursing school. So I just did the classes that I needed, and then I needed my last prereq, and it was microbiology. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna get into a nursing program. This is it. And then I had a professor that reached out to me, and she said, I think you're made for research. I think you're settling for nursing because your family is telling you that's something you need to do. I was like, well, I'm done. I don't really want to waste time, you know. I have to take the entire chem series, entire math series, entire bio series. Why? So I went to her office, talked to her for about an hour, and after that walked out like, wow, I'm really going to take this risk and I'm going to try out research. So then I ended up here at Oak Crest for a summer internship. I had no idea what I was doing. I had never held a pipette. I was so lost. It was really hard. And I'm not going to say I fell in love with it instantly, but here there were a lot of people that actually took the time to teach me. And all I had to do was reach out. I just said I wanted to practice, I wanted to learn, put a lot of hard work in, and eventually got a second internship after. And internship after internship, I ended up applying to UC Davis. So I'm currently there right now taking classes online. And since COVID, I decided why not come back to Oak Crest and, you know, kind of do some research on the side with my classes. So I actually came back like 2 weeks ago. So now I'm back here as a full-time worker and it's been a great experience. I can't get enough of this place. So I would just say if you're feeling that it's going to be difficult, I'm not going to lie, it is. It doesn't come easy, but science isn't easy. And if you're stubborn and you're willing to just keep doing things after failure, after failure, after failure, you know what? You're meant to be a scientist. It's all about failure, but it's all about continuing and all you have to do is keep trying. You know, if you can do that, if you persevere, you can be the greatest scientist that maybe you can end up at Oak Crest, somewhere like this, you know, but just keep trying and keep studying and, you know, you can do whatever you set your heart to.
Thanks, Destiny. Christian, you are a local guy as well, aren't you?
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Christian Canales, and I actually started off at Citrus College as well. But I actually want to go back a little further in high school since we were talking to high school students. And I actually had a similar experience in high school. I didn't know what I wanted to do. A lot of funding in my school was cut. They didn't have any STEM programs. I didn't really know what a scientist really even did at a high school. So after high school, I didn't attend any college. I got into a simple construction job, working full time and just making money, but I wasn't happy with my life and where I was heading. So 2 years after high school, I had enough money to buy a car. So I bought a car, and with that car, I actually decided to enroll in Citrus College. And from there, it really started my passion for science and STEM. I started taking all biology classes, extra classes actually that I figured out later on that I didn't really need, but I really enjoyed myself in them because they were STEM classes and there was something different for me. And I finally got the courage to sign up for a summer research internship, same as Destiny and Sarah over here. And I actually came into Oak Crest summer 2019. So I've been here for over a year, and after my internship, I actually was hired on as an electron microscopist. So right now I did actually, I am working part-time because I am at Cal Poly. I did transfer out of Citrus College. And honestly, Oak Crest has been the best experience of my life. It has been, I wouldn't change it for anything. It has been really hard work, but honestly, being an electron microscopist is something I never imagined in my life. I never really knew what they did until I got here to Oak Crest, and Oak Crest really showed me that it doesn't really matter where you started or where you began. It really matters where you're trying to get to and how much hard work you put into it, because it's only you at the end of the day, how much work you really put into it, how much effort you really want to give into it. And if you really love it, it really doesn't feel like work. Honestly, I don't really feel like I'm coming to work every single day. I feel like I'm coming to learn something new every day, and I love it, and I wouldn't change it for anything else. I really hope you guys find something like that too, STEM related, hopefully. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. We have one more person sitting at the table. This is Chris, who is one of my colleague, one of the senior faculty here, and he, like me, like Irina, is not local. So, Chris, would you like to say a few things about your trip here, your journey?
A little trip around the world, yes, absolutely. So my name is Chris Buser. I'm a biochemist by training and then turned into a microscopist. And as you can hear, I'm really not from here. I'm a Belgian, Swiss, American citizen. I grew up in Switzerland, did my undergrad there, went to Germany to do my PhD, and then came to UC Berkeley to do research, and that's really where I I got stuck in California. I also did some stem cell research at Cedars-Sinai, the medical center. Tried to go back to Switzerland, found out that I really didn't fit in anymore. Came back 10 months later and was crazy enough to just decide and start a startup company. And that's how I got to Oakcrest, because I didn't have any equipment whatsoever. But I knew that Paul was at Oakcrest, and I knew that Paul had some equipment. So I got in touch with Paul, and full circle, got at some point joined the faculty. And now I'm in the fortunate position to run the startup incubator. And essentially, I'm providing the infrastructure to startups now that I could have used 5 years ago. So it's been a fun journey, and absolutely, I mean, Oakcrest is incredibly unique. I don't know of any other place in the world that operates like this place. And as Mark said, it's fun every single day to come to work.
Thank you, Chris. Now we're going to move into one of the laboratories, and I'll introduce you to Patty. And Patty, I think she wanted to be a veterinarian.
I did. I first started out in high school. I was not the brightest kid. I was going through many hardships, both at home and at school. And then with a learning disability that didn't really allow me to focus in my schoolwork. And so I didn't want to attend college. But then all the careers I kept on choosing led me to college. There was the obstetrician, a nurse, as well as a police officer. But I can't handle, weapons. I'm really afraid of them, as well as bodily fluids, not very fond of them. And so what happened was that I decided to attend Citrus College because, one, it was really close to home. Two, I didn't want to waste a lot of fortune at the moment going to university when there was, community college. And second of all, I was an undeclared major. My first semester at Citrus College, I failed 50% of my classes. I failed PE, which was a class that required me just to meet a certain amount of hours, 30 hours in the whole semester. I failed that. History, introduction to forestry. After seeing my report card for the first semester, I thought, okay, I can't be the student that I was back in high school. And if I want to help my family, both financially and myself in the future, I have to change. And so from then on, I decided to attend office hours, study groups, as well as, what else? Tutoring sessions. And I'm an introvert. For me, like this, talking to you guys is really hard. But I decided to, increase my grades meant that I had to put some effort. And so after a couple of courses and semesters, I decided to become a veterinarian, a vet. And so I decided to apply to Cal Poly Pomona and Fullerton for animal science. I got accepted into Cal Poly Pomona, and that's where I learned that networking and getting out of your comfort shell is really important. First of all, I got introduced to my PI, my principal investigator, through an instructor that I was attending office hours for. Then I got indicted into the Honor Society in agriculture. And I think the most important component at Cal Poly through networking was becoming part of the McNair Scholars Program, which is a program that targets minority, so underrepresented students, and in hopes of having them attend a research group on campus for a year, and hopefully having them apply to PhD programs once they graduate. And so I slowly but surely started noticing that animals were not my thing. I started becoming allergic to them. But at the same time, my passion was shifted to research. And so through the McNair Scholars Program, because it does have like a very strong title to it, I applied to an internship at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill for a project in microbiology. And I was admitted. And then after I came back from the internship back to Cal Poly, I thought, okay, let me just finish my coursework in animal science, but then obtain a minor in microbiology, which I did. So now I have a Bachelor of Science in Animal Science and a minor in microbiology. After college, I thought, okay, why not attend a postdoc, which allows me to do research for 1 year at university. I was going to attend Alabama for the summer, sorry, for a whole year when my mother got sick. And so I thought, okay, well, my mom comes first, you know, there has to be somebody that needs to take care of her. And so I declined the offer, went back to Cal Poly, spoke with one of the directors at the McNair Scholars Program, and she mentioned that she knew someone at Oak Crest. And so she told me, okay, let me schedule an interview. And so she did. I came here at Oak Crest and they told me that this opportunity might last only 1 year and that I will most likely not do microbiology or anything with animal science. And at the moment I was desperate. And at the same time, I saw the environment and how people were very friendly and, you know, like eager to meet me. And so I decided to take the offer, and I thought to myself, okay, if it's only going to be for 1 year, I might as well put all my effort and try to learn everything I can, because as you can see, there's like so many equipment here. And so after 2 years, I've been here as a full-time employee. I am a formulation chemist, and like Christian said, I never thought I would have chemist in my title whatsoever. Chemistry has been very hard and continues to, but like Mark said, I'm always eager to come and like to work. And then, you know, even though sometimes it's really hard doing research, in the end it pays off.
Thank you, Patty.
You're welcome.
We have one more person in the laboratories, and this is Amalia. Amalia is from the East Coast originally, and I think she came to Los Angeles for a totally different reason to the one that she is currently in. I don't think she intended on being a scientist. Amalia?
Thank you, Paul. I'm Amalia, yes, and unlike what most everyone else has said about what they wanted, not knowing what they wanted to do in high school, I knew exactly what I wanted to do in high school, and that was to be an artist. I was on stage doing theater and music, and that was what I was going to do for the rest of my life. Life doesn't always work out that way. I graduated in 2005, and in 2007, I finally was in a position and had enough saved up to move out to Los Angeles to try to follow my dreams and become an actress in Hollywood, because that's where you go if that's your dream. I ended up working at Disneyland for a period of time and quickly discovered that the networking aspect of getting into Hollywood and the racket of agents and commercial work and all of that, the business side of it was very much not for me. And I'd always been a little bit interested in computers. That's something that I grew up with. So it was suggested that I go to school for computer science. So that's what started my university journey in California. I'd always liked science through school. In high school, I enjoyed the science classes that I took, but it was never something that I considered, that I identified with. It was a cool subject. It was something fun to learn, but it wasn't a career path. I knew people became doctors. I knew people became nurses, and somehow that wasn't it wasn't even a possibility. It was something people did on TV, ironically. So I was determined I was going to become an actor, and I was going to go play those people on television and in movies. And I was going to play scientists, and I was going to play doctors and police officers and any number of career possibilities. And so when that didn't work out, and I got into school, and I started sitting down and having to take these really difficult classes that I had avoided at all costs in high school, and discovering that, hey, this is actually enjoyable. The highest level of math I took in high school was algebra. I took algebra, I took geometry, but I did absolutely everything I could to not have to take any more than that. I was going to be an actress. Who needs math when you're an actress? I avoided chemistry. I avoided physics. I took an oceanography class because it was fun. I took an earth science class because it was fun. But anything that involved any amount of math, I avoided any way that I could. It was hard. I didn't want to have to do something so hard. I wanted to be on stage. I wanted to be memorizing lines. I wanted to be doing fun things. But as soon as I got into it in college and started working through the math and starting to understand it, and it started to click, which it just takes step by step. You have to change your brain, and eventually it starts to make sense. No matter how hard it is to start out with, eventually it starts to click and make sense. And I got to the point where I had enough math that I could take any classes that I wanted. So I started taking the physics classes because I had to for computer science, and discovered that I loved it and it made perfect sense. And the entire world opened up in front of me and I understood how things worked. And this was the coolest thing in the world. Science still wasn't a career idea for me at this point. I was just learning cool stuff. It was awesome. And the world was making sense. And then at this point, I changed my major to physics because physics was so cool, and without any idea of what I would do with it in the future. And then I ran out of financial aid, which happens, especially if you're at community college in California and you go through class after class and you can't get classes, so you're there for too much time. I was just there for too many years, and they decided, nope, you're not going to get any more financial aid, even though I hadn't reached the limit of number of classes you can take. It had just taken too long because the classes were full. So they cut off my financial aid, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I thought, maybe this is it. I'm not going to be able to continue, and I'm going to have to go just find some regular job without a degree and figure out what to do next. And then I got a flyer for the Oak Crest Institute of Science, having absolutely no idea what was involved in research. And at the moment, my degree was physics, and I'd barely taken half a chemistry class. I think I'd taken the intro to chemistry class, which I loved and thought was really cool. But I looked at this flyer for an internship and went and interviewed. And they, at the time, this was a program that had a paid internship. Not all of our internships are paid, but there are opportunities. And at the time, all I saw was paid, and went and had an interview. And the minute I walked into the building, it was a new world. It wasn't something I had ever been exposed to before. There was an energy of exploration that permeated the place. And I kind of fell in love with that almost immediately. And I got into the program, and it managed to get me through the rest of that semester. I was able to support myself and finish my classes, and I was doing chemistry work, which I had barely touched on in school at the time, but was starting to really love the classes. And by the end of that semester and by the end of that first internship, I had changed my major to chemistry, and was able to transfer to Cal State LA as a chemistry major, and continue doing research at Oak Crest as well. And what everyone else has said about the unique, how unique Oak Crest is compared to other environments is there's so many different kinds of sciences that happen here that all work together. And you can kind of get your feet wet in biology and chemistry, microscopy, various different instrumental sciences. I am now an analytical chemist, which means I measure the amount of chemicals that are present and characterize them, figure out what they are and how much of it is there. And I never would have known that that was a kind of job that you could even have if it weren't for coming to Oak Crest first. That's not something that we really touched on that much while I was in school. And there's so much to learn here. I've said before that I've probably learned more about how to actually do science and how to do chemistry from being here at Oak Crest than I learned from all of my school. And the school was very important. There's a lot of fundamental knowledge that I learned going through school. But when it comes to learning how to do research, I did that here doing actual research. And what's so amazing about doing research is that nobody knows the answers. Nobody has done exactly this before. And so you're forging a new road, learning while you're learning how to do it, and discovering answers to questions that nobody else has that answer. And it can be very scary, not being able to go and ask, hey, what should I be getting when I do this? Nobody knows. We don't know. Figure it out. Compare it. See if you can reproduce it. See if you can do it again and get the same results. And so it's an adventure, and it's a lot of fun. And I'm happy being here every day, even when it's really hard work. And it is definitely not where I thought I would be 10 years ago. But I'm glad I made it here. And I still do art.
That is a good point. If you are choosing a career path, you can still do other things. I'm a scientist, but I have a secret resume as a singer and actor on stage a long time ago, but I've still got quite a substantial resume that maybe I couldn't get a job anymore, but I've had fun with it. So there was a question in the chat box from Alyssa, and it says, for Patty, do you think it would have benefited you if you had volunteered at an animal shelter or veterinary clinic first? I think.
Actually, I did, and the body's just it's so mysterious and amazing. At the time, I had a dog at home. I volunteered at an animal shelter. I did have some symptoms, but being Patty, I have perseverance. I was like, no, who cares? I can take a Benadryl or a Zyrtec, it doesn't matter. And then after a couple of years of not having my dog, I decided to go back to the animal shelter and volunteer at a clinic or work. And my symptoms came back, but like 1,000 times worse. And so I think if I would have listened to the signs that were at the beginning, maybe I would have chosen probably like biology or biochemistry. But at the same time, if I would have probably changed that specific time in my past, then my whole coursework through here would have been completely different. So I definitely agree. Please, if you're still doubting what you want to become, like dip your feet first, and get exposure to it.
Of course, there are careers for people who absolutely know what they want to do. They go straight into their career path at college, and they go straight into their postgraduate work, and they get what they want. But quite a lot of us, certainly quite a lot of us at Oak Crest, probably started off not knowing exactly what we wanted to do. I never wanted to be a scientist. I took all my exams much later than everybody else, and it was a default pathway. It was the easiest thing for me to do because I seemed to be good at it, and I ended up by accident in science, and it's been a fun career. But I think most of us have taken a little bit longer to get here than we would really have wished had we known at the beginning what we wanted to do. I'm at school and I want to go to Oak Crest Institute of Science. How do I get there as fast as possible? Having said that, there's a question in the chat box for Amalia from Diego. And the question is, how many years did it take you to get from starting your first science class after high school to now? My goodness.
Oh, let's see, first science class. I can't remember which year I started my first science class, but I started at Pasadena City College in 2009, and I graduated from Cal State LA in 2017. So it took a few years, and I am eternally grateful that I started at community college. It is not a step down. It is not an example of a failure. If you're starting over, if you don't know what you want to do, if you're starting out not knowing what specific degree you want to go for, community college is an excellent place to start. It gives you a chance to kind of explore your different options before you have to pick a school and a degree path. So, but it can take a little while. It took me 8 years.
Any other comments from anyone? People sitting around the table, do you have anything extra that you would like to say? I don't know if you noticed the audience, but there's quite a few people from other countries. And the reason for this is, I think we could not have done what we do here had we stayed in our own country. And that's saying something about the system here. Okay, here's some more questions. What is the process for detecting and characterizing substances? This is for you, Amalia. For example, do you use Western blot? Say that we intend to determine whether a genetically engineered organism is producing a desired product. Sounds like somebody's got some homework to do.
Aha. For chemical analysis, we generally do not use Western blot. What we do use, we use separation techniques. So if we get a very complex sample, we can use chromatography to separate the compounds, and we can look at them by either UV vis if they have bonds that react to UV light, where we can get a light response from the compound. We can measure how much is there. Or we also have mass spectrometry facilities here, where we measure the actual mass, either a nominal mass of the compound we're looking at, so we can measure how much is there using that, or we have a very, very high accuracy mass spectrometry instrument that we can measure the accurate mass to very, very high resolution. So we're able to get a reasonable idea of what the elemental composition of that compound is. We can also use NMR, nuclear magnetic resonance, which is very similar to MRI in medicine. And we can use that to get an idea of what the structure of the compound is. So we can get the elemental composition, which is what atoms are in it, and we can get its structure. And from that, we can completely characterize an unknown compound. We can also use IR spectra, infrared radiation spectra, to figure out what different functional groups, what chemical functionality the compound has. And all of these different techniques gives us slightly different information about the compound that we can figure out unknowns and what is it and how much is there.
Another question from someone. To those who had an extended journey to get to this career, if you can go back in time, what would you do differently, or what would you wish you started earlier? And another one that's related, where did it go? Is there anything you would tell your high school selves, such as not to worry too much, or to look into other subjects more, etc.? 2 questions for anyone who wants to answer.
I can answer. I would suggest that you learn to get out of your comfort zone and to search out things, because people aren't going to reach out to you. It's not, the faculty aren't going to come to you with all these experiences and opportunities and tell you, go try this. Like, I got lucky that one time, but that's not the case for everyone. And you need to build a network. You need to reach out to people, tell them you're interested. And that's the only way you're going to get into these experiences. And you may not see it as important now, but all those clubs you participate in, all the volunteering you do, all the people that you meet, you need to write it down. Start your resume now. Make sure you build connections with people, you talk to them, get information, emails, contacts, anything, and keep in touch. Just a single email can go a long way. I mean, I've kept in contact with Paul and with Chris here since I was in Davis, and anytime I needed to ask a question or anytime I just wanted to say, hey, how are things going at Oak Crest, I would reach out. And I realized that I wanted to be at a university so bad when I was in high school, and that throughout community college, I felt like that was the end goal. And honestly, being at a university, I felt so small. And it's because there's so many students there. You're not just that student, and the community college level actually let me meet people and get that one-on-one opportunity with faculty. And when I came here, I realized that in this lab, I was treated as an equal. I wasn't being babied and given these little experiments with, all the protocol written out, like, do you do this? And don't touch this equipment because we don't allow you to. It was like, all right, we're going to teach you, we're going to throw you in, you're going to learn. And when I was at Davis, it was like, oh, we don't allow undergrads to do that. You're not a grad student, sorry, you have to wait. Or, I didn't feel that. And so when they say this place is a unique opportunity, this was a community college experience. And even at the university level, I never got that there. And that's another reason why I wanted to come back here. And luckily, I got that position here. So I would just say, don't get comfortable. And like Patty said too, be uncomfortable and just learn to talk to people. You may be nervous, you may not like to talk, you may not like to reach out to people, but doing that helps you get so much farther in life, so much quicker.
Thanks, Destiny. Here's another question. Do you see yourselves working for Oakcrest in 10 years? Woo! Everybody says yes. I saw the big smiles. I assume that was yes.
As long as the building still stands.
That's true. We've got to keep it building. What is the best part about working at Oakcrest? What is something you can do here but could not in your home country? I can start this because when I was living in England, my father, he was a guy who cut grass for a golf course. My mother worked in a warehouse similar to Costco, and nothing was expected of me. I was just supposed to go to school until I was 15 and find a job. And I really didn't want to do that, mostly because I didn't want to work. And it took me a lot of effort to actually stay on at school. And even then, because of my background, things were not open to me. I had to leave England to do things that were considered above my stage. Here, you can reinvent yourself and you can just try something new. You just go and try something. It's not easy. Of course, I've been told numerous times that I was wasting my time. I've been told numerous times that I would never do what I've actually done. So if you listen to people, there's a lot of negativity, and it's surprising. Even people that supposedly should be supporting you and loving you, they'll tell you to go the easy way, take the easy way out, just be happy with what you've got. And I never could do that. Anything from anybody else? Oh my goodness, we need another hour. We've got all these questions.
I can add on to that, Paul.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, as being a first generation college student and actually being a first generation student studying STEM, I could relate to that because my parents really weren't satisfied with me just having a regular construction job, just any job I could find, making money, helping them out with the bills. But honestly, I really couldn't settle for something that I wasn't happy with. I couldn't wake up every single day at 6 a.m., 5 a.m. and doing something that really didn't make me happy just because it paid the bills. And that's really why I couldn't settle. And that's why I really went back to school, because people didn't really expect anything from me, but I expected more from myself. And I always set myself a higher standard than I think anybody else would for myself.
Okay, there's some quick questions, so let's see if we can answer these. Is there any advice for someone who is first generation college student, much like yourself, Christian, and Destiny, and Sarah, of course, and myself? What was researching various programs like? Any tips for learning how to like sciences? That's tough, 3 questions.
I think you learn how to like sciences by doing it. I mean, there's always, like Amalia said, you might kind of enjoy it, but at the time it's just kind of a course that you have to take. I feel like when things are required and when things are graded, you may not see the importance of it and the value of it. But when you actually apply it to something that's real life, that actually makes a difference and impacts your community, it clicks. It kind of makes sense. Like, I feel like I joke with Paul all the time that in my classes, we'll go over, you know, what's you're supposed to know and apply in real life. And then the things that we actually do in the lab, they're like, oh, you're never going to use that. Don't read that paragraph because it doesn't matter. And I'm like, wait, so Paul, this is what you were telling me, but school tells me I don't need to know it. So I feel like just be open to everything and be willing to learn. Always do a little bit extra research. And if you guys can start now, learn how to read scientific articles. I find it very difficult, but the more you practice, it's a little bit easier. And so I think it's kind of just like anything you try. I feel like when you don't understand something, you're kind of scared and you don't really enjoy it. But when you start getting the hang of things, you find that you like something that you didn't think you'd really enjoy. So I think just trying things out and being more open, that's a big factor for me at least.
And if I can add to that, also the fact that if you don't enjoy science, then ask for help, definitely. You know, tutoring services are available, and just because you're not understanding it doesn't mean you're not liking it. It's just you haven't put all your focus, and there's probably somebody that can explain it way better than your instructors can.
That's true. I'd like to add also to keep trying. A lot of the stuff that pulled me away from anything that I found interesting was the fact that the first time, nobody's gonna get it. Like, you have to keep trying it, you have to keep learning it. I guess the price you pay for that is kind of like embarrassment, but you end up gaining like a lot of experience.
Here's another question. How did you really know that career or pathway wasn't meant for you? Maybe this is a good question for Irina, who I think she doesn't really want to talk too much, but how did you know your initial career? What was that?
I was a high school teacher, chemistry teacher. Yeah. So, and, you know, I was a good teacher actually, but I wasn't enjoy so much. Yeah. So all my, you know, like after university years, I prefer and I like to be a person who are working in bench. Bench work is for me. Yeah. So, and I immigrated in the United States 14 years ago. Yeah, and 10 years I am with Oakcrest. Yes. So I enjoy so much research. Yes. If you decided, like if you started some job and you don't like, don't force yourself. For sure, you can find another opportunity to start. Like I started research, you know, like 14 years ago. I was not young person. Yes, I was not young. Yeah. So, but if you don't like, you can find something what you really, really, really like. Yeah. So just really try and never give up.
I think, yes, I'll second that. My choices have always been made on whether I will have fun or not. I always try to choose things that I will have fun with. And it's taken me around the world. I've lived in Africa, I've lived in Germany, I've lived in America, and I teach on courses in many parts of the world. And I think we all do science because we think it's fun. And somebody pays us. If you're in a job that you don't like, I think you're probably in the wrong job, because it could be for your life. You could be doing the same job forever and ever. And if you don't enjoy it, why should you be there?